The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Joanne Mercier. Hello, Joanne.
Hey, Dom. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Father Cory, also Father Cory Stika, how are you doing?
I am doing well, and how are you doing, Dom? Now that we can have you for this, I'm glad you're running it, not me.
It is great to be back. I'm not sure I'm going to be back every week, but hopefully, I think I'm finally back. I wanted to up front. I'll tell you about where I've been and what's been going on, and some things I've learned about in the tech realm in that process. But we'll get to that in a sec. But before we do, I do want to let the audience know about another great show on the StarQuest network that you will definitely enjoy, called The Secrets of Stargate. It covers the wonderful Stargate franchise, the 10 seasons of Stargate SG-1, I think it's either 4 or 7 seasons of
five seasons of Atlantis and 2 seasons of a universe.
The sadly truncated Stargate universe. It's a great panel. They have a lot of fun. Father Cory's there, and Victor, and Jack, and Lisa, and I'm loving that and watching Stargate along with you as you guys review that. And it's a great podcast, so check it out. It's wherever you find fine podcasts, or at sqpn.com/Stargate. So let's get to our business today. I want to start by kind of saying I'm glad to be back. It has been, I think, 7 weeks at this point that I've been gone, almost 2 months. So what happened? In a nutshell, and I'll keep this very short. We had a plumbing accident in our house, water leak everywhere. We had to move out. We've been staying in rental properties for the past 7 weeks, or lent someone's vacation home. They lent us for 1 week. We've been in 3 different places, heading to our 4th this coming week. But hopefully we'll be back in our home soon. And in all that time, I've had to kind of do my job from the road. I couldn't really record podcasts on the road. None of the places we stayed had a area that was quiet enough and secluded enough to be a podcast studio. So that was the one thing I had to always keep coming back to the house to do. But everything else I've been doing on the road. And I started off with a 2019 MacBook Pro. That's one I've been using for a while. And I got a monitor, and I'll tell you about the monitor in our next segment. But I got a monitor to go with it because I tell you, it's hard to edit multi-track audio on a very 14-inch MacBook screen, and quickly realized that I needed something with more power than the MacBook Pro, because it was having trouble driving the big screen, and I realized that was the problem there. And so I'll tell you about what I did for that also in a minute in our next segment. But I also realized that I needed something more. I needed my Magic Trackpad. I love the Magic Trackpad from Apple. I don't like using a mouse in general because I get hand cramps. I have stubby, thick fingers, and so my hand cramps if I use a mouse for too long. So I've been going back and forth with my Magic Trackpad between home and where we're staying, and I realized, I don't know, Apple's going to fix this, but you can't. It's hard to use one trackpad between 2 different computers. So when I connect it via Bluetooth to one computer, when I take it back to the other one, even if that one computer is not nearby, it doesn't want to connect. It sees it, but it won't connect to it. And so then I have to disconnect it, delete it from the Bluetooth preferences, and using another mouse, you have to add it back in. And that's one thing I want to recommend to everyone. Always have a wired mouse, not a Bluetooth mouse. Always have a wired mouse and a wired keyboard as backup. Cheap, whatever the cheapest thing you can find is, have it in a closet, in your computer bag or something. But there will be times when you have a computer, like a laptop is, it's got them built in, but like a Mac Mini or an iMac, if or other Windows versions of that, you get into trouble. You'll not be able to connect. And now there's supposed to be ways where booting up, if it doesn't detect it, it'll say, hey, I see a trackpad, you want to add it. I see a keyboard, you want to add it. But that I've not found that reliable. A wire always works. So that's my first recommendation. So another tech thing that we discovered is when we want to watch TV, it's kind of tricky because everything is like, most rental places or hotels have TVs connected to cable, but I want to watch my Disney Plus or my Netflix or my Apple TV Plus. I got my iPad and I've got a dongle with an HDMI port, so that worked out. But sometimes I need better audio than what's available. So I have a JBL Boombox, which is a big Bluetooth speaker, but if I had any kind of Bluetooth speaker. And so what I've done is I Bluetooth that to either the iPad or my laptop, and that provides the really nice sound for whatever show or movie we're watching. So that's pretty good. So always have an HDMI cable with you and some way of listening to the audio. Some TVs will grab the audio through the HDMI cable and some won't. My iPad sends audio to the TV, but my laptop, my MacBook, didn't, which is interesting. I found that an interesting difference. So that was interesting. During the course of our being away from home, we had a big nor'easter near hurricane blow through this area.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Joanne was in the midst of that with us in Rhode Island. And we lost power for a day or so. And one of the things that saved us, and being at a rental place, I didn't have any of my normal camping gear to get us through, anything like that. But what I did have was a previous pick of the week, an Anchor power station, which is this big, basically a big battery charger. And so we were able to power, phones, Kindles, laptops, all kinds of stuff through that while we were out. So that was very useful. So those are some of my lessons learned so far on the road.
Yes.
Well, this is helpful, Don, because if, a lot of us get in the positions, especially during weather events, and people go nuts because they can't get to their appliances or they can't do what they normally do, just one of these things might be helpful to somebody to at least get the anxiety level back down to 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it helps. Like, one of the things I've learned is I want to make sure I think about things I will need if I'm, if I need to leave in a go bag. Having a go bag, we had to pack up and get out quickly. I mean, it wasn't like it was a fire or anything like that, but it was just water everywhere, no running water in the house. We had to get into a hotel quick. We had to pack up all of our belongings into one of those storage pods to get it out of the house so they could do the repair to the house. And it all went so quick. There are things like, we did that in September. I don't have a winter coat. My winter coat is buried in a pod somewhere, I can't trim my beard because my beard trimmer is buried deep in the pod. So, I mean, I could go buy another one, but it seems wasteful. But there's these things. So like having a go bag of various kinds. I have several different kinds of what I call go bags. I have a tech go bag. It's got all the things in it that I can do my job on the go. And all I need to do is throw my laptop and my iPad in and go. And I think I recommend that. And for various things. Have a go bag for your medicines. Have a go bag for, anything that you will need if you have to get out and go quick. So.
And that's one thing we talked about with that when we did the survival shows. We've talked a couple of times about, how to handle survival issues. And that's one of them is be able to have a bag. Have a bag with a change of clothes and your tech stuff you need, spare cables, spare laptop and mouse. And, you talk about wired keyboard and mouse, but even the ones where like the Logitechs where it's a dedicated controller wireless, as long as you get the batteries for it, right? That's just as good.
Oh,
don't rely on Bluetooth. Yeah. Don't rely on Bluetooth because sometimes Bluetooth will break. There's concerns with Monterey that certain Bluetooth chips that are available for Apple computers as upgrades or whatever don't work on it. Right. So they would work before, but all of a sudden you're going to be a break. How do you fix that? You need a wired keyboard to fix that. So, a lot of these things are very important. So these are survival trips as well, but be able to have a bag that's sitting somewhere close frankly, somewhere close to your front door. If you've got a front closet, it's sitting on the floor or on the shelf of your closet. You grab it, you leave. It's that quick.
Even trunk of your car sometimes is some people keep stuff. Yeah.
And with winter coming up, and the three of us live in winter climates, more concern for me because I live in a winter climate where there's nothing outside of town.
Yeah.
True.
You do need survival stuff in your car, and some of this stuff like the battery pack for your phone or whatever, the external battery pack and stuff like that are essentials if you're out on the road somewhere.
Yeah, see, and I've always had a winter survival kit in my trunk in case I get stuck in a snowstorm at work.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never done all the tech. So now you got me thinking that I have to go into my little closet back there and find all my old tech and say, okay, what do I need in case of an emergency?
Right. Yeah, that show we did on survival tech was very helpful in getting me thinking about that sort of stuff. So I'll put a link in the show notes to that if folks want to go back and review that, because it was definitely a
lot of good stuff.
Yeah. All right, so from the disaster to looking forward a bit, it's right close to Advent. We're getting very close. It's Thanksgiving is just around the corner for us, and I should have mentioned at the top, and I'll remind folks at the bottom of the show that we're not going to have an episode next week for Thanksgiving week. We generally take Thanksgiving week off. I don't want to edit a show Thanksgiving morning, so we will
blame you.
Yeah, but we wanted to get started with kind of talking about Christmas gift ideas, and we're going to do a couple of shows of this because I want to let everybody on the various panels get in on the Christmas the tech Santa sleigh here and come up with some ideas for Christmas gifts, and we've all been told, start early, you got to get your Christmas shopping done early this year and all that sort of stuff. So we want to give you some ideas, some techie Christmas gift ideas, and just to kind of preview how we're doing this is we're each going to give 3 ideas, and the one idea will be in the expensive range, $500 and up. Another idea will be in a mid-price, say $100 to $500 range, and then we'll look at stuff that's under $100. Like we'll come up with some ideas along those lines, and I think that will help. These are different from picks of the week. Picks of the week we generally are things that we've used, that we are recommending, that are useful. But whereas Christmas gift ideas, these can be things we've used, but they can also be things that we'd like to get, things that we think others would like to get. So not strictly the same thing as picks of the week.
So hint, if any of our listeners want to give us Christmas gifts, these are things that you can send to us, and we appreciate, especially the expensive ones.
Sure. Just send an email and we'll give you an address to send them to. So why don't we get started? Joanne, I'll ladies first. Why don't you go first with your expensive pick?
Oh, my expensive pick was going to be, I was going to say, well, it's on its way, but it showed up yesterday.
Christmas came early.
Christmas came really early. Actually, Apple sent it really early. It is the 14-inch MacBook Pro M1 Pro, which I bought the bottom, and my husband cannot believe I did this. The bargain basement bottom model.
That's funny.
He's like, you're kidding, you never do that.
Yeah.
I said, well, if they're saying that this thing is as powerful as it is, I don't need anything more than that.
Yeah.
Really. And I'll tell you, at less than 24 hours first blush here, I'm super impressed with the camera.
Yes.
The actual.
Yes, it looks awesome.
I can't believe how good this camera looks. And we were talking about it before we started. And in one word, zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apple got on the zoom bandwagon, and it looks marvelous. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of power in a little machine. I have an M1 Mini at work, and this thing, I swear, is a little bit faster, but I will do some testing when I bring it into work. The setup was clear. The lovely migration assistant is beautiful. So no matter what Mac you get, Migration Assistant is your friend. Yes, you have to go in and tweak, but Migration Assistant is your friend. The keyboard is back to normal.
Nice.
With full size F1 keys along the top.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing. The touch key now is indented. So you actually feel your
ID.
finger go. Yeah, the Touch ID key. You can actually feel your finger go into it, so you know it's the right key.
That's great.
The sound on it. Now I'm sending back a 16-inch Intel i7 that had beautiful sound. Sounds comparable on this little one. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Hugely surprised. And this is, again, the bargain basement, 8-core, 16-core. Don't ask me what they mean. It has 512 in it. It has 16 gig. That's the basement. It's $2,000.
Right.
Okay. But if you have an Intel, because my Intel machine is 18 months old, they give you a very generous return on that. So this is not expensive. Plus, I'm also doing their 1 year, no finance, no interest on the Apple card. So it's costing me, get this, $65 a month for a year.
Okay, that's not too bad for
a machine.
A very powerful machine that, by all accounts, could be compared to a Mac Pro. I mean, these are some pretty hefty specs on these.
Right, and a couple of caveats, though. Or before I say that, MagSafe. Lovely to have it back.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
The cord is not plastic coated now. It's material, fabric coated. It's braided.
Nice.
Very
nice.
not thin braid.
Which took them long enough.
However, because I work on a desk with 2 other monitors, you can still use the USB-C to power it as well.
Okay.
So that's how I do it here. So I'm not changing power cables on my husband because he has a 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now, if you're running parallels, here's my caveat. Don't do a darn thing yet because you will find out when everything migrates over that whatever virtual machines you had on it, like Mac OS 14.6 and Windows 10, they're not compatible. Parallels is compatible. Parallels works, but not your virtual machines.
Just to explain to folks,
I will.
Parallels is virtual machine software, so you can run other operating systems under Mac OS. And the old versions that ran on the Intel Macs were designed to pass through and run Intel native.
So there's a distinction between a virtual machine and an emulator.
Yes.
Yeah.
A virtual machine allows other operating systems to pass through to the hardware, especially now with newer, what they call virtualization.
Right.
That every Intel and AMD chip has had, or Intel and ARM chip has had, Intel, AMD, and ARM chip has had in the last 5-10 years. So when you run Windows in Parallels, you are giving Windows access to
directly to the hardware.
Parallels, the hardware.
Right.
Which is faster.
Well, now that it's an ARM-based system, which the new M1 chips are, like your iPhone, like Android phones, you have to use an ARM version of Windows. And that's what Joanne's talking about.
Yeah.
Because it is not emulating the Intel chip. It is not making Windows think it's running on an Intel chip when it's actually running on an ARM chip.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you could explain that because I just know the following, which probably most people in my position would also know, is it's not working.
Yeah.
Right.
I did discover that it's supposed to be able to run Windows 10, but I haven't been able to find a Windows 10 copy that would work. It will run Windows 11.
Right.
Okay. When it comes out, or it'll run if you're on the Insider program, it'll run it. I can't remember, Father Cory, is 11 out now in Windows?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it came out about a month ago, I think.
Okay.
Very recently.
Yeah.
But yes, you can get the ARM 64 version
of that,
which is the version of ARM that will run on this.
All right. So that's my project for this weekend.
Okay.
But it's also not running prior versions of the Mac OS. So if you had that Mac OS 14.6 because it was the last 32-bit one and you were running some things, it's not going to run that either. It's only going to run also 4 different flavors of Linux.
Okay.
So it's now a more narrow base of virtual machines that it can run.
Okay.
So you got to know that. And anytime you go from an Intel to this type of a chip, something's going to go wrong. So unless you know exactly that you can live without a certain bunch of things, or
just wait.
You're
can
willing
wait
to change.
Yeah.
Then don't do it.
These are the exact same problems they had when they went from the PowerPC platform to the Intel platform way back when.
Yeah.
I mean, these were the same exact issues. So,
okay, cool. But it's a great pick for a Christmas gift if someone you know needs some serious power to do things like rendering or editing video and audio and that sort of stuff. It is a serious piece of hardware. So awesome. Very good. Father Cory, what is your first Christmas gift idea?
So there's kind of a theme that's going to go through my Christmas gift ideas, and it's going to be hands off and easier, making things easier. And so, and under the theme of hands off and making things easier, most of us by now, if we've got a car we bought, say in the last 10, 15 years, most of us, not everyone, you can still get cars that don't have this. We have the touchscreen infotainment display, whatever they call it, Uconnect or Sync for Ford or whatever each company calls it. You've got that tablet in your console that you touch for your controls, your heating controls, your radio, all this stuff. And one thing car manufacturers universally have been horrible about doing is updating these things. You get about 2 or 3 updates, and then it's 5 years old. We don't have to support it anymore. You're done. And so new technologies come out, and the older cars don't support it. Well, if your car doesn't have the literal tablet that they've just grafted onto the dashboard, like you see some like Teslas do, where literally you have an iPad grafted to the dashboard, you can replace those infotainment displays with aftermarket units. For example, I've got a 2013 Ford and a 2011 Dodge Ram. Both of those can be replaced with newer units. And so what I've picked is a Pioneer unit. It's the AVH 2500 NEX. It's a car stereo with both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Because that's the problem with these older units. They don't support CarPlay or Android Auto. And if you want to get the most out of tethering your phone to your head unit so that you're not looking at your phone, it's not in your hand as you're driving, these are good uses. Because CarPlay lets you use Siri, Android Auto lets you use Google Assistant, and do it right out of your car. You hit the button on your steering wheel, and it pops right over. It lets you do it just like you're doing it on your phone. And so there's some, if you're going to give this as a gift, you need to do some research. This is not going to be a gift you're going to give as a surprise. This is a gift that you're going to have to talk to the person, find out what kind of car they have, so you can get the right adapters, because there are plug adapters that go into the dash. When you put this thing in, you might have to get someone to install it. If you're not familiar with doing car stereo, I've been doing car stereo on my cars since I was in high school, literally. So it's not that hard to do, but you do have to have the knowledge of how to do it. But you can get adapters where all your steering wheel controls, if you got the volume controls and all that on your steering wheel, they work. Where if you've got built-in satellite radio, it'll plug in. If you've got the backup cam, it'll work. All that stuff will work. You just have to have the right adapters. So if you've got a car that's maybe about 5-6 years old or older, this might be something worth looking at as a gift, asking for as a gift, or giving as a gift. The one I picked out is about $600. You can get cheaper units, but of course, like with computers and with tablets and phones, the cheaper you get, the worse your experience is going to be. The one I picked is a more recent one. I picked Pioneer because I went back and looked at their support pages, and they've got a good reputation of supporting for years. I looked at a unit that came out 5-6 years ago, and the last update was last year. So they are updating them. A lot of times they're running Android or some Linux-based operating system. They are a computer. Just like your phone is. So it's a great way to do it. Now, one thing you'll have to be sure about is, again, I mentioned those tablet displays versus an actual in-dash infotainment unit. It has to be what's called a double DIN display, double DIN enclosure inside the dashboard. And double DIN is the size of it, which is approximately, it's 100 meters. Let's see, I looked it up, 100 meters tall by 180 meters wide.
Millimeters.
Versus the single din, which is 50 millimeters, not meters, millimeters. 50 millimeters by 180 millimeters.
Yeah.
So if you remember the old stereos where they're really narrow and wide, those are called single din. Double din is the
basically
much more
stacked.
Square.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, this is something where if you go to big car stereo dealer is Crutchfield. Amazon also can do it where you can put in the make and model of the car, make, model, and year of the car, and it will tell you if the stereo will work or not.
Yep.
What adapters you need for it and all that. So it's something that's a little research, but the biggest thing is it gives you the newer technology and it does make it so that you can be much more hands-free when you're driving.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want to move things along because we're if we go at this pace, we'll be a 2-hour show. But I want to my top pick is another Mac. I'm sorry, folks. You got me and Joanne on the same show. You're going to get Macs and Apple stuff in the future episodes with the other folks. You'll get other non-Mac stuff. But I'm picking a Mac Mini, the M1 Mac Mini. That's the computer I picked up when my MacBook wasn't doing the job. It is not. It's the version that came out earlier this year. I was hoping it would be an M1 Max or M1 Pro iMac that I was going to be picking, but Apple is not cooperating. So I picked up this Mac Mini, about $1,000, retail out there, and excellent computer. It's so much faster. It's faster than my Intel 27-inch iMac that I got now that's sitting on my desk. I can do multiple things without it bogging down, like, do a Google Meet stream and open a browser window, without it running to a halt, that sort of stuff. So it's a great computer. It doesn't have the horsepower of that MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro in it, but it's a great all-around computer for just about anybody. It'll do, for 90% of the people, it's a great computer. So that's my Christmas gift idea for on the high end. So
you won't regret it.
I do not regret it. Now, I mean, I'll be honest. When Apple comes out with the iMac, the M2 or M1 Pro, whatever the heck they call it's going to be, this one is getting traded in or sold, and I'll be getting that iMac.
Of course.
I mean, that was the condition that I got this under. All right. So those are our expensive picks. Joanne, what do you have for a mid-priced pick?
Well, this is something that I bought recently, not because I'm unhappy with AirPods, but because they keep falling out of my ears. My mid-price pick is the Powerbeats Pro. And I really do like them a lot because you get the same Apple quality sound. You also get the same Apple quality connectivity, sometimes even better than the AirPods, because these seem to stick better. You get more time on these. I haven't had to really. Usually after about 2 hours, I'd start getting the blah, 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 blah sound on the AirPods. Oh, yeah. You don't get it on these. These go for at least 6-7 hours without recharging. They come in lovely colors, and right now they're averaging about $179 for the pair. Okay. The only complaint I have is the case. The case is nice and big, and I can't lose it. The problem is it's black, and I can't find the opening on it. I'm always twisting it around going, where is the opening on this thing?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, as much as I don't need the noise canceling and all that. Oh, and it also comes with 4 different sets of tips on it to adjust to your ear.
Everybody's ears are different.
Exactly. So, and they're made by Apple. So if you're, if that means anything to you, it gives you the same quality with a little bit more, customization and likability. And I think they're just longer. My AirPods are now relegated to my office at work where I need them for work. But these are my everyday, and they go around your ear. That's the big thing. They do not come out.
Right. They're designed for exercise and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that.
But I like them better.
Yeah. Nice.
So
good. Father Cory, what is your mid-priced pick?
So my mid-price point is kind of going on the, more the hands-free, not having the cell phone in your hand all the time, because, smartphones have a great, they've provided connectivity and abilities that we could have never imagined 20, 30 years ago. But there's a real concern that with that has come a lot of addiction. and a lot of problems with using this phone constantly being in our face, in our hands. How many times do we ride public transit? We're in a, at a waiting room or whatever, and everybody's face is stuck in their phones. And so what I picked is called the Wise Phone. And what it is, it's a dumb smartphone. I think maybe you can call it. It looks like your typical Android iOS phone, where it's the piece of glass.
Yep.
Big piece of glass. But it doesn't do all the App Store stuff. It doesn't have a browser. It doesn't have email. It doesn't have 500 different apps. It's very, very, very simple. It's got, obviously, it can make calls. Yes, it can do two-way communication. It's got, maps. It does have a map feature. It does have the ability to do Bluetooth connection for making calls and so on. It's got a camera. But it doesn't have all the other things that your modern smartphone does.
Yeah.
The idea of it is, if you have trouble disconnecting from the smartphone, will let you maintain contact with people, let you have some of the features like the camera and the maps, but it doesn't have all the other addictive stuff. The things like the social media and so on that we can suck us in. And so there's kind of a movement to get away from the smartphone and get back to the phones that just do what we need and not suck us in. I'm considering this phone personally because I do have such a problem with that social media and how it can you get stuck on it. The only thing that's missing, and one thing I would like to contact them and see if they would consider adding at some point, an actual calendar feature. It's got a clock and it can show you world clocks, but it doesn't have like a Google Calendar or Apple Calendar style program where you can see your calendar for the day. It doesn't have the ability to load music and podcasts, although I had heard from Matt Fradd, his Pints Through Aquinas, recommended this, and he said he talked to the developer and he said that they're looking into adding that. So that is a good feature. If it had those two features, I think I could move over to this and I would not lose anything other than games and stuff like that off my smartphone. So this is not, a way to keep that phone from being in your hand, because there's nothing there that's going to really addict you like a smartphone will.
I think as a parent, I mean, if I got a teenager and I need them to have a phone, this might be a decent idea for a phone that's sort of a starter phone for kids to kind of get them started. I mean, I've run into the situation where I give old iPhones to the kids without phone plans, but just for them to be able to do things like listen to audiobooks and that sort of stuff. That's the only thing that this wouldn't be able to do is like Audible, and because it doesn't have apps.
Right.
But if you just need kids to have a phone that they can call and text and take photos, this is not a bad idea.
And they've just added a family portal that'll let you monitor the kids' calls and texts and do the location history and things like that. So they are looking into that as well, as very much a good thing, where you can hand this to a kid and feel comfortable, and you can even lock out text. You can say, no, I don't want you texting right now.
Yeah. It also, I noticed that it doesn't allow you to delete texts, which is a safety feature. You can lock out their ability to delete them.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
What I like about it is it looks like every other phone.
Right.
So it's not like, the jitterbug for elderly people, that doesn't look like a real phone. This looks like a real phone. And I wonder if it would be good for one of those emergency kits. Just a basic phone.
It's a little expensive side for that, but it's $400, but it's not a bad idea. That's
no.
And to say the thing, the camera is not going to match the Pixel 6 or the iPhone 13 Pro, but it should be a usable camera. If you're one of those that likes to take pictures, they have that too. So, but yeah, as far as something that you can not worry as much about, this would definitely be one of those too. Yeah.
Mm. Excellent. So, see, that's Joanne and Father Cory. So I guess I'm up again. So to go along with my Mac Mini, obviously it doesn't have a monitor built in like the iMac or the MacBook. So I had to get a monitor. So I did some research, and being a Apple snob, I needed a really good looking monitor. I couldn't just get any old, VGA or something. It had to be a 4K monitor. But I also, being cheap, I didn't want to spend a fortune to get it. So I found a really nice monitor. Just to say, picking out monitors is really hard because there's so many and so many different models and so many manufacturers. But I'm happy with what I've got. I've had this one since September, and it's an LG. I'm not going to read off the number to you, but it'll be in the show notes. It's an LG 27-inch 4K monitor it's got all of the ports. So it's got HDMI, it's got DisplayPort, and both of those were really important to me that it had those because DisplayPort is a native Apple thing, and it can use HDMI too. It's got the VESA mount, so I can eventually, when I get it on my desk at home, I can mount it on an arm. I really prefer to have monitors on arms and move them around and out of the way. And it's been really nice. Now, again, as I mentioned before, the MacBook Pro, the 2019 MacBook Pro, this is not the Apple Silicon ones, but the 2019 MacBook Pro had some trouble driving the monitor at that full resolution. It did it, but when I tried to do stuff like render video and that sort of stuff, it really slowed down. So that was something to keep in mind. But connected to the Mac Mini, it zooms. It's just so awesome. But so I really like this, and it is $349, which I think is a decent price for a 27-inch 4K monitor. So that's nice. my pick there.